This conversation has been going on for ages. Uh, I published an article in 2008. Every year I read it. It's as if we published it yesterday. So most of the solutions that we have are long termish. But let me look at some of the short term solutions. One of the first things that we need to do is to be able to improve our flood warning solution. You see, if you look at the very serious flooding that we have had along the coastal areas, they happen around 6:37 up to about 9 p.m. Those period is when you get high flood, high, for what you call high tide, where you have the sea coming a bit inland. So the moment there is rain and storm water cannot exit into the sea, you realize that it starts backing up, and so it's very difficult to manage. And then also, because it's at night, it's very difficult to be able to find ways of doing emergency response. So that takes me to the second short-term plan. We need a very comprehensive emergency response plan. You see, we have politicized NADMO. So we get people, appointed by political officers, to such positions who may not necessarily be very technical. I think it is time for us to put round pegs in round holes, and then equip them properly when it comes to some of these things. We should have dinghies. We should be able to map up the area and know buildings that, within low-lying areas, which can easily flood, and then give preference to buildings that are in such areas. So we need to be able to look at that. In the medium and long-term plans, one of the things that I'm very happy about is this government attempts to restore wetlands. They shouldn't just demolish the buildings. They should cut away all foreign materials and make sure that the wetlands restore itself, so that we can have birds, and fish and all of that, and get the fauna in place.
So the demolition must come with evacuation of the demolished material.
Yes, evacuation of the evacuated. We should evacuate the material. That's very important. So that is one. The other thing has to do with something which has become a cliche, which we need to be very careful and make sure that we actually actualize it. Sustainable planning solution. Anytime we talk about it, it's as if it's become a cliche. But we have come to the point where we should look at sustainable planning, write it in our laws, make sure that we train our staff at the Ministry of Local Government for them to understand it, so that they can involve that in development control. So that is very key. The other things which, it's difficult for every government to be able to achieve 100% is infrastructure improvement. It's about drainage. It's about covered gutters. It's about making sure that we build our roads and our bridges and all of that, devoid of silting. So all of that is part of the long-term solution. Now, we also have to start looking at climate resilient design. A lot of our designs we carry out, we end up having a very large mass concrete driveways that is paved. In fact, sometimes you have, these tiled driveways which makes the ground impermeable. It is time to make sure that we give incentive to people who design houses and have more greens, so that we can improve percolation and reduce runoff. We have to look at flood resistant construction in areas that are prone to flooding, so that if we could have some of their buildings on stilts and things like that. We have to be scientific about it.
So there are areas, no matter what we do,
yeah.
people have to settle there. So we need to change the way we build and re-engineer our houses to be able to exist within those environments.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that is doable. I think we should be able to start thinking along those lines.